So we're gonna have another debate because I don't want Chris Wallace up there ever again.
There's not going to be another debate.
Joe Biden's probably gonna refuse to do it again, right?
Yeah, and I'll tell you why he's gonna refuse to do it again is because he was a star tonight.
See, and I
made him a star tonight.
I think this was a good night for Joe. So I think they'll push him through for the next two.
No, I think they come out, follow Nancy Pelosi's lead. She already planted the seed. Let's say that Trump was interrupting, that he was whatever, and call him out for fact checking, call him out for this, that, and the other, and they're not going to. I just don't think they can take the risk. They can't risk him. They spent all this time getting him prepared, and they can't risk him having a Joe moment.
But is it a bigger risk not having a debate?
Yeah, no, not because he already had one. If he had one, it was successful for him. So they can't say, hey, he's chickening out. What they'll say is, they're not going to give President Trump another opportunity to lie to the American people and to sit there and be rude and to object to, to jump in there and to yada, yada, yada. And they'll be, all they've got to do is stick with that talking point that Pelosi's already been planting 3 times in the last 2 weeks intentionally. And then they'll be able to say, look, we did our debate. We won. But he was rude. He was lying. We're not going to do it again. Nancy was right. We shouldn't have even done this one, but we did, and we won. So there's that. It's a good narrative, and it's the one that I can't imagine them having another debate after this one.
Yeah, I mean, and here's the thing, and I think that the Joe Biden team was brilliant in how they were able to get Joe Biden ready for this. And again, like what I was saying throughout the entire thing was that he never talked about specifics. He only talked about things in general terms. And I think that to a certain degree, that's why Trump won in 2016 is because he talked very big idea, general terms, while like the Ted Cruzes and the Rand Pauls were splitting hairs over the littlest, tax reform or how you do illegal immigration. And Trump's just like, build a wall. And that was his talking point. And I think that now you've got Joe Biden who physically and mentally cannot talk about the details. And I think that Trump, there's no contrast. He needs to provide a contrast. And again, like I was saying earlier, he's smart enough to where he could run numbers and facts and figures and run circles around Joe Biden. But instead, he fell for the trap and he went back to 2016, and I think it bit him.
I think the big thing, too, was Trump did keep interrupting, and I think that was bad. Just for the sole purpose of Joe Biden shoots himself in the foot. Well, they both do, if they're left long enough to talk. If he would have just let Joe continue to talk, he'll end up falling, tripping and stumbling all over himself. And I think Trump should have backed off, let him try to finish out his thought give him the opportunity to make his own mistakes. You never interrupt your enemy when they're making their own mistakes. That's what should have been allowed to happen, because when he comes in, butting into the conversation, butting into his answer, it looks really bad.
Right. And I think that what we saw tonight, guys, was Joe Biden his time. And the reason I say that is because he was able to respond in a monotonous, clearly scripted, and to me, clearly scripted. It was memorized. It was like, just spit out what you're going to say, and then Trump is going to interrupt. Trump has that flaw about himself, but it's also, I believe, he's being advised to do that. So when Trump started interrupting him, it allowed Joe to bide his time to recover and appear more coherent than he would have if Trump would have done, as we said at the start of the program, be composed of himself and let Joe trip over himself. So I felt that tonight, Trump and his advisor team, they tripped over themselves and they fell into the snare of what the Democrats wanted. So we're going to see a ton of YouTube clips, a ton of clips tomorrow on all of the liberal media showing how out of control Trump was, which they did during the other debates in the previous years. And Trump, he seemed that he was desperate to get what he had to say out. And a lot of that was, to me, the line of questioning, which just clearly seemed to me was orchestrated. Chris Wallace, I wouldn't trust him as far as I could throw him. And I know I've gotten weaker along the last months in COVID-19, but I'm pretty sure I could throw him far, at least 3 feet. But I think that he fell into a snare there, and it made him look bad. But I think that he almost had to do it, because anytime that Chris Wallace would go to question him, it was a total different line of questioning that was designed to make Biden appear a better leader, a better speaker, a person with a clearer direction despite generalities being spoken. And Trump just seemed to fumble all over the place, although I don't think he intentionally was. I think he was just trying to get it because he was being, I feel, treated unfairly in the debate. This right here was a definite a win for Biden on the side of media. It's going to be a trash show tomorrow, guys. That's how I feel about this whole debate.
Okay. So I think we all agree that that this did not go that well for Donald Trump, and I thought, honestly, in my opinion, I thought Trump had a few good opportunities. And I thought he took them a few times. Chris Wallace bailed out Joe Biden a couple times as well. Right when Trump was kind of getting to the heart of the issue, Chris Wallace would bail him out. But the question is for me, and we can kind of let's start with JD and we kind of go around the horn a little bit. What do we do now? Because I think like we were saying, because of everybody's low expectations, Joe Biden's the winner tonight. Joe Biden wins. He most likely will not do another debate. How do we still pull off this election after this debate?
Well, number one, let's put this into perspective. That it was a debate. That do debates sway people? Yes, absolutely. There are problems, but whether there's more debates or not, number one. If there are no more debates, then this is still the end of September. And people would have, points that he scores today aren't going to influence a ton of people. Okay? They will influence, especially the early voters, are going to be influenced by it, but, so be it. That's just something we have to deal with. But number two, if there are more debates, let's look back at 2012. In 2012, following the first debate, Mitt Romney was up 52-48. And then Obama's second debate and third debate were closer, and Obama ended up being victorious. As far as what we need to do, and that's the important question, is that we have to do everything that we possibly can to get the word out. We need to stop focusing on Joe Biden's dementia and start focusing on Joe Biden's policies. Jeff and I did a podcast last month, with that talking point and with that concept, and we still haven't. I still find myself talking about how dumb Joe Biden is, how much he's lost it. We got to stop. Okay, let's just drop that line altogether. Is he using a teleprompter? Great, yeah, he probably is, but he wasn't using one tonight. So drop that line of discussion. Let's take issue to issue. Let's attack what he's already said. He was saying he keeps going after the economy. We need to remind everybody that the economy was freaking awesome before COVID-19. He keeps saying that President Trump, the one line that President Trump tried to repeat, but he kept getting kind of overblown. He didn't really go into details. He should have gone, and it would have been nice for him to say that on, Joe, you keep saying this, but on January 22nd, you tweeted out that he gave some specifics, but he should have had it ready verbatim. What day was it that he said this? While I was calling for and banning travel from China, Joe Biden tweeted this at 8:22 p.m. on January 22nd or January 31st, whenever it was, that yada yada yada, racist and xenophobic. Okay, Do you still feel that way, Joe? And look at him and just shut up and let him answer. He won't answer. Okay, but that would have been a winning moment for Trump. That would have negated a lot of what Biden said multiple times about how, we can't trust this president, that it's, the 204,000 deaths are his fault and yada, yada, yada. We have to focus on those concepts, those talking points, and we have to get the word out there, which means pushing podcasts, which means pushing videos, which means sharing articles, which means not focusing on Joe Biden's dumb, Joe Biden's lost it, Kamala Harris is this, that, or the other. Let's go policy to policy, because that's where we win unambiguously, and we have do such a poor job as conservatives of focusing on the things that are important. It's as if we believe that everybody already knows it. We just have to convince them to stop being woke, and that's never going to happen. They're going to be woke no matter what. We need to convince them that if they get their way, that the United States is going to be destroyed. That's a better argument, in my humble opinion.
Yeah. Now, I mean, I feel like for me, I'm looking at this, and obviously we've got a lot of work to do, but is it in all okay? Is it in play? Is the election still realistically in play? Because we know that Joe Biden is winning in the polls, but we also know there's a huge problem with ballot harvesting. There's a huge problem with the potential of voter fraud. Are we looking at a situation where things are a lot like a slimmer chance than before? And anybody can answer this.
I don't think that we're looking.
Sorry, go ahead.
That was beautiful.
I don't think that we're looking at I don't think that we're looking at a slimmer chance than before, Jeff. I think that we're still at the same point that we were before. Especially as we were watching them and listening to them really go at it about the whole voter fraud issue. We're still in that territory. No matter who came out on top tonight, this is something that needs to be focused on, because it's actually an existential threat that even though if Trump is widely supported, they have the ability to take this election out based on things that's happened there in Pennsylvania, which they went over tonight, stumbling over each other and wrestling for who was right about that. You can't deny that what Pennsylvania has done is try to turn this into a week-long election. And I think that that's really an existential threat that we have there. So, I don't think that anything's really changed. I don't think you're going to change over a lot of people. I think that what happens here is you're going to empower complacent people, on the actually liberal side. I think it's going to empower them more. But no, slimmer chance, I wouldn't say that. I think that we really need to focus on the issue of voter fraud, because I believe that's a very serious issue right now. That's my opinion.
Yeah, well, and I want to throw this out there because I think we need to get back to the issues in a way that I wish Trump would have really dove into. This is what happens if Joe Biden becomes president. Because I think that to me is the main talking point, because we can point back to Trump. We have to point back to the economy under Trump was great. It was the best ever, the greatest economy in the history of the world, pretty much. But we have to point back to that. We have to point back to his successes. But then I think we also have to contrast that with Joe Biden's stated platform on his website. So in your guys' opinion, and maybe Shu, let's start with you. What is the danger of a Joe Biden presidency?
I think a Joe Biden presidency would be extremely bad, but that's to say the least. I mean, I don't think it'd be the end of the world or whatever, but it definitely set up the foundations for it, at least in terms of the country. And the reason for that is because I think the Supreme Court would be extended based upon him not answering, because he knows it's a very unpopular view, but he also knows that he needs that power because we've given so much power to the Supreme Court now. that they have to have control of it, or they're not going to be as effective as what they would hope to be. Not only that, but especially if we lost both the House and the Senate, like worst case scenario here, I think DC and what am I trying to think of? They would restructure the whole electoral college, and they would bring DC in as a state to gain more electoral votes.
And they're also talking Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico, that's what it was. Yeah, they would bring that in and allow that to expand, and that would destroy our electoral college dramatically. And they're also talking about restructuring like the different divisions and everything like that within each state to make them more blue. That would be horrible. Also, he's talked about taking away Second Amendment rights. I mean, there's so many things. This is such a loaded question. I mean, it's huge, and that's why I think it goes back to the first question you asked is what we can do to actually ensure that we move forward, that we take responsibility of what our generation thinks, what our people believe, why they believe it, what it is, and instead of just sharing memes about, this person's ugly or this person's dumb and stuff like that, we need to get to the root of the issues, start educating them, get down to the history of our founding fathers, how they thought, how they lived, where they came from. We need to take each of these subjects that came up, and we start asking questions like what we're asked tonight, we're doomed. They're so broad. There's nothing specific. Like, how do you answer a loaded question like that? Like, Trump, racism. Ready? Go. It's huge. You can't tackle that all in one. Like, what aspect, what position or what area about racism is it that you want to discuss? And we need to get down to the finer details of these issues. We need to educate people, because I truly think that a lot of Democrats are actually more Republican than they think, but nobody has prodded them to think at all. They just see orange man bad. Media says orange bad man. So they're just like, okay, we'll just follow.
Yeah, well, and so it's one of those things too where I think everybody, or I won't say everybody, the majority of people are actually conservative when it comes to themselves. They're just not conservative when it comes to other people. Because everybody believes in personal property rights when it's their own, but maybe not for the rich guy that lives down the road. Same thing with somebody would believe that they have the right to protect themselves, but somebody else shouldn't because they feel endangered by them, kind of a thing. And so that's kind of the hypocrisy that maybe needs to be exposed a little bit or explored or prodded or things like that. Dustin and JD, either one of you guys can hop in, but from your guys' perspective, what's the danger of a Joe Biden presidency?
You can go ahead. Dustin, or is he not? Is he there?
Okay, I'll go.
No, I can go. Do you want to go?
Well, I figured I'd let you go. You're better looking than me.
Well, that's that's only because of my shaved face. So I'm stalling, not because I don't think that there are dangers to a Joe Biden presidency, but because my answer won't be as politically correct as it should have been. Okay, sorry. I was also finishing up something on the computer. Sorry. Okay, so so Joe, I disagree with Shu when he says, doesn't think that we won't survive. I don't think we will survive. I think that we will, that a Joe Biden presidency, especially combined, as Jeff mentioned, with loss of the Senate, in particular, loss of the House, are continuing to keep Nancy Pelosi in there, if they are able to get a majority. And here's what's going to happen, by the way. Let's be clear. Whoever wins the White House wins the Senate. Okay? The House is more up for grabs, but the way the White House goes, the Senate will go, because it'll be based the way that the demographics are right now. We have to a major loss of the White House would mean we probably lost North Carolina, so we lost Tom Tillis. We probably lost Colorado, so we lost Cory Gardner. We probably lost we're going to lose Maine, and we're almost certainly going to lose Susan Collins, and that's not much of a loss at all. And we probably lost Arizona, which means we lost Martha McSally, which again isn't too terrible of a loss, but still that puts it at 49-51 in favor of the Democrats in that scenario, and that's not even taking into account some of the other vulnerable seats. We should get Doug Jones' seat back with Tommy Tuberville, which would put it at a 50-50 tie, with Kamala Harris as president of the Senate as the tiebreaker. All of this means that the agenda of the left, and I'm not even talking about the radical left. I'm not saying the existential threat is the Green New Deal. The existential threat is the stepping stone to the Green New Deal. And I don't think we can survive the stepping stone, because once you start throwing in all these little things, what's going to happen is a slight economic collapse, which almost started with Obamacare. Obamacare was a stepping stone to socialized medicine. So now you have these additional stepping stones to get to socialized medicine, single payer, with the public option, which Joe Biden and Kamala Harris will be pushing for. You have environmental policies, and you have humongous tax increases for businesses that will translate into fewer jobs. I don't care what the Moody's report from Wall Street Journal says. They're going based upon a lower number of jobs today relative to how many jobs can be created next. But the thing is that once you start that collapse, we're at that stage in our history where the next step with a Democratic House, Senate, and White House, the next step is advancement towards modern monetary theory. And the problem is that we demonstrated that it works. It doesn't work, but we demonstrated that it at least from their perspective, you'll have Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez saying, "Hey, we were able to spend, $3 trillion during the coronavirus, and nobody, it didn't crumble our economy. Nobody was asking, how are we going to pay for that, right? Well, why can't we do the same for climate change, Joe? And shouldn't it be 10 times that much?" And then you've got people saying, "Oh yeah, I guess she's kind of right." Because we didn't crumble as a result of a $3 trillion increase. The problem that we face in the next 4 years, and I don't think it'll take 4 years, I think it'll take between 2.5 and 3.5 years. So before the next presidential election, the main part of it, I'm not talking, anyway, we will be in a position to where, number one, we start embracing modern monetary theory. We start printing our way out of problems they are going to create. They're going to create solutions to problems. It's the whole Hegelian dialectic. I don't want to get into that. But, pardon me, but the dominoes, once they start to fall with a win by Biden-Harris, with a win of Chuck Schumer becoming Senate Majority Leader, with Nancy Pelosi still Speaker of the House, they'll be able to do more damage than any administration, any time in our history. And we're not talking about just a higher amount of damage. We're talking about irreversible damage, because once you start going down that road of modern monetary theory, the petrodollar goes away. The dollar as the world reserve currency ends. And at that point, the only thing that keeps us from collapsing today is the fact that we are the world reserve currency. If we collapse, everybody else does. And the rest of the world knows that, which is why they will, once they start seeing what's happening to our economy as a result of this Democratic majority, they're going to run, and we will collapse. And I do not believe that we will survive as a nation through an entire term of Biden, Harris, and Chuck and Nancy. So I'm going to fight with a lot of coffee. It's currently 8:02 on the West Coast, and I'm currently drinking one possible variation of Freedom Coffee, the new blend by Freedom First Network, coming soon to a podcast near you. You too can be drinking Freedom Coffee at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And we need this to happen.
And let me tell you something.
To save America.
He's not kidding. I was having my blend earlier today.
This is great coffee, Jeff. This is great coffee. We got it. We got the great coffee. I need you to buy Freedom Blend Coffee in case Joe Biden wins. Because if he does, we've got to move to Canada. Okay, we got to go to New Zealand. We got to go to Montana. Does anybody know what it's like in Montana? Anyone? Wyoming?
So JD, are we officially announcing right now?
What, that we're getting married? No. No.
Hey, we're in California. Come on.
Now would be a good time, Jeff, I think, for you to talk about the new offering from freedomfirstnetwork.com.
Well, I mean, we are launching our own coffee line, and we're literally JD is literally sipping the Freedom First coffee.
drop the mic. You can't hear. I can't hear you if you guys are saying bad things about me. Don't make fun of my hair.
So everybody stay tuned, because we will be launching the best organic coffee, and it literally tastes like freedom. So definitely stay tuned for that. So
it smells like a Trump landslide victory. And here's the thing, guys, real quick. Sorry, one more thing, because there is one more existential threat that I have to throw out there. This can't just be oh crap, we need to beat Joe Biden. This has to be we need a landslide victory. I talked to Jeff about this also last month. We need a landslide victory, because a close race, and they will be able to burn down the nation. We need to be able to make it unambiguous. We need to be on election night, be able to say, hey, well, we know that we got mail-in ballots, but with Trump up by 14%, and unless the total every single mail-in ballot out there is for Democrats, which it might be, then he won Pennsylvania. Oh crap, he won Virginia. We need a repeat of 2016. We need the people to be crying on air at CNN and MSNBC to prevent the absolute anarchy and destruction of the United States of America, the burning down of the burning of the streets, the need for us to exercise our Second Amendment rights, which I don't want to have to do. Okay, I don't want to have to use my Second Amendment right on some rioters. I don't. I would much rather just drink my Freedom First coffee. So, I'm sorry, that was my rant. I'm going to mute myself.
Okay, Dustin, your turn.
Okay. So, what are we looking at with the Joe Biden presidency? How can I expound on what JD said? I believe that everything that he said was pretty powerful, because I completely agree with him. And here's why. You've gone through this whole year of seeing what it's like for a country to be torn apart from within, especially after people have warned about it for 3 or 4 decades now. And we come into 2020 and we see the fruit of the labors of the left. And we see the fruit of the labors of the communists. And now they have more power than they ever have in the country of America. So what happens with a Joe Biden presidency is that you have a man come in who's ready to relinquish his presidency within the first 3 months. And who's going to come behind Biden? And that's Kamala Harris. And this is somebody that I have been talking to many people about, that you thought Hillary Clinton was bad. You have no idea the evil that this woman is going to wreak upon the country. So we're not going to survive 4 years as a free nation when this man becomes president. First, they're going to dismantle everything in the first 100 days of office from President Biden, if that comes to pass. You have Kamala Harris, she's right now the neck that turns the head. So everything that Biden does is because Kamala pushes him that way. And so what the Democrat Party pushes. So Kamala is actually the face of the Democrat Party. And so she's going to push him this way. They're going to take your weapons. And once they take your weapons, there's no way to defend yourself against the onslaught of what's to come. When they start forcing their socialized medicine upon you, which we pretty much have right now, it's just a step away from full blown. Then they're going to take away your ability to have purchasing power. And that's going to be through what JD said on the modern monetary theory. It's going to become a reality. And he's exactly right about how he said that they've proven how this has worked by all of the things that they've done. Even through all of this COVID-19 bull crap, they've proven modern monetary theory to be a feasible option. But we know as conservatives and capitalists that it's not. So they're going to dismantle everything. I see within the next 2 years of a Biden presidency that we become I think we're going to pass communitarianism, and then we're going to move very, very quickly into communism. I believe that you're going to start seeing Christians into camps, re-education camps. You're going to start seeing those who aren't Christian but hold some of the values that Christians stand for. They're going to be thrown right in with them. Jews are going to be definitely dismantled. Even though if there are liberal Jews here, they're going to be thrown in with them. So what's going to exist after that point are anybody that supports these people. They'll be controlled to a point, but they'll do the bidding of them under their own kind of caste system, I would see. So I think that if we allow a Biden presidency to happen, you could pretty much kiss this country goodbye, because just this year they've pretty much brought us to our knees. So that's why I will fight with every fiber of my being not to let that happen. And that begins with us to talk to people and to continue what we're doing with the broadcast. And I realize life gets in the way. I'm one of those that's happened to this year. But you have to, if it comes between me being able to keep the things that I have and the things that will be taken away from me on a Biden presidency, I'd rather lose everything I have right now and then somebody like Trump win than to let a Biden win, because I know that I'll never be able to recover. And that's what's going to happen to everybody. So I suggest that you continue out there organizing meetings like your Trump rallies and everything. So that's what we're looking at. It's going to be a complete dismantling of our country.
Yeah, and I'll just throw in there, and I say this all the time, but I think if based on their stated platform. Okay, so if Joe Biden wins and they take the Senate, we're going to see amnesty happen. So that's what 30 million Democrat votes. I don't see how you come back from that. They want to give felons the right to vote, more Democrat votes. They want to make D.C. a state, which was already mentioned. They want to make Puerto Rico a state, which was already mentioned. That's more senators, more representatives. Again, all going Democrat. So just from a strategic standpoint, it's no longer 50-50. Now you're talking 3/4 of the country or 2/3 of the voters are going to be Democrat. I don't see how you come back from that on a strategic level, right? On a practical level, when you look at their stated platform, you go to joebiden.com. I encourage everybody, actually go there and read through it, because it's very different than what Joe Biden is saying from the stage. It's very different than what Joe Biden is saying during the debates. It's different than what he said during the DNC speech, okay? So he's talking about hiring 100,000 contact tracers to trace you, if you either have COVID-19 or came into contact with somebody who has COVID-19. Now, they're also talking about having a vaccine by next year. So what's going to happen to those 100,000 contact tracers? Do you really think they're going to let them go? No. So what do they actually want them to do? They're going to be there. They're keeping tabs on anybody and everything. If they can contact trace you for COVID-19, they can do it for anything. Once you cross the line, there's no coming back. That's the danger that we're seeing with taking away Christians' right to peaceably assemble, both for church as well as protests. Once you cross that line, there's no coming back for the Democrats. And if we then give them power in this election, we give them power for decades to come. There's no coming back from that. We're going to see churches in my opinion, churches are going to be limited indefinitely for safety precautions. I mean, a lot of these lockdowns and shutdowns that are in place, they did it in the name of COVID-19. What's to stop them to doing this to combat the flu? What about the next thing that comes about? What about the next disease? What about, anything and everything? If we can shut down the economy for a virus where over 99% of the people survive, I mean, you're talking about ultimate and complete power, all in the name of health and safety. This is the danger that we're facing. If we give these people power, they're a bunch of big government, authoritarian, socialist people. This is the danger. If we want to live in a free society, we cannot allow Joe Biden to take office. And I'll throw this out there too, for the never Trump conservatives. This is do or die time for our country. And there's a lot of people, and even friends of mine, that are still hesitant to vote for Trump, because they still believe that a vote for a third party is perfectly fine, perfectly normal, and that Trump hasn't earned their vote because of certain moral issues or things like that. I get the understanding and I get the logic, but the danger that we are facing with Joe Biden as president, there's no coming back from that. And that's what JD said. That's what Dustin said. That's what we're all saying. There's no coming back from a Joe Biden presidency. If that happens, America's done. There still may be the America in name, but in the Constitution and what the Founding Fathers intended for us, there is no more America. So if we splinter our own vote by having a bunch of conservatives that are not willing to hold their nose and vote for Trump, at the very least, if Trump is elected, you've got a shot at getting a strong Christian conservative in office in 2024. If Joe Biden is elected, we have zero shot. And that, to me, I think is the danger. Now, does anybody think I went too far on that one?
Nope.
No, I don't.
I think that we alone are giving the government too much power in itself. This country is only over when we decide that it's over. From your cities to your states to who you are within your own communities. You, the people, only give the government as much power as you are willing to give them. There's a reason why where I'm from, we didn't bow or kowtow to any of this COVID regulations or anything that was implemented throughout the rest of the country. It's because we said no. You can say no. Your neighbor can say no. Your city can say no. The government is only as powerful as you let it be. We are a nation founded by the people. Okay? Not by government officials, not by tyrants, not by kings, not by lords. We, the people of the United States of America, founded this nation, well, several years ago. But we still hold this nation. We are responsible for this nation. We are responsible for who we elect, for who we put in office, and for how far we let the government take control of our actions and take care of our regulations within our cities. If they start passing stuff that, start hauling off Christians to, camps like Dustin was saying or anything like that, there should have been a long time before that we should have put a line in the sand and said enough is enough, and we should have watered the tree of liberty a long time ago. Enough is enough. There needs to be a line in the sand, and if we're willing to let it drive that far, as soon as they come for our Second Amendment rights, I promise you it's not going to end well up here. And it shouldn't end well wherever you're from.
Well, and that's why I want to move up there. Where are you?
Allow them to be.
Where are you?
More power than they have.
Where are you?
Always move here to where I am, and join the militia with me.
So, which state are you in? Which Dakota?
We're up in north.
Okay, yeah, I've considered it. I can't get my wife to do it.
It's too cold.
Like I said, after you go numb, you can't feel anything. It's fine.
I'd rather freeze to death than burn to death.
Yeah. Okay. So I think as we're wrapping up, because we're coming up to the 3-hour mark of this live stream, is I think to a certain degree, after tonight, I think there's a certain level of pessimism maybe with us. So what can we do? And I know we talked a little bit about this before, but between now and election day, right? Practically speaking, we have a certain limited amount of time, and we're not all like a bunch of really big powerhouse, big names with huge Twitter accounts besides JD, who's the only blue check mark in this group. And
I'm a blue check mark because I drink Freedom First coffee.
That is true. I dare anybody to disprove that statement. But what do we do? Like literally, like tomorrow, like what do we got to do to change minds as everyday Americans, not as conservative pundits, not as people on Fox News, not as people with big famous podcasts that are in the top number of podcasts. What do we do tomorrow as everyday Americans or people that are watching this to actually win this election?
I'll start this one.
Wait, real quick though. One thing before word the question, instead of saying change minds, stick with the last part. How do we win the election? And I'll explain after when it's my turn why you can't say change minds. Go ahead.
I stand corrected.
I'll tell you what. I'm going to use an example of somebody that I met a few months ago. And this is a young girl named Lauren Snyder. She's in her late 20s. She's not even from this area where I live. And I'll tell you what this person did. This person came here into this city, and she was fired up. She also is somebody who attended many Trump rallies. And this is somebody who didn't know a lot of people here. But you know what she did? Is she went out and she took a step to do something which appealed to people. And what appealed to people was something called flag runs. And these flag runs, she started with just like, 5 cars, okay? And 5 trucks, pardon me. They'll kill me on that one. And they started sticking flags into the back of them. And they would drive around an area called the Loop around here, which takes about an hour or so to drive around the city of Tyler. But because she did that, other people recognized it and started following her lead. And because she started doing that, more people came out who were otherwise quiet, as the people would call the silent majority. And as I agree with J.D. Rucker, the silent majority is really no more.
No, it
is not. Starts with making a difference based on where you are. So she took something that people enjoyed doing and made them a part of it. And now this is somebody that has to go and get security detail because it's so large in this area. So I would suggest that you follow the example of someone like Lauren Snyder, a 26-year-old woman who didn't know anybody in her town because she moved from another city from the southern part of a state, and make a difference by figuring out what people like to do and then incorporating it into support for your president. Because you can figure out a lot of stuff. And I don't want to go into too much of what JD's probably going to say. I don't think that you can change minds, but I believe that you can change passions. And so you can make people want to be a part of something. And because of that, you can use their want and their need to want to be a part of a cohesive group to attract them. And this is what this young woman has done. And when you bring them into your fold, you set an example for them and they will follow it. And then you make leaders of them. That's where you start. So I suggest that that's the way you're going to fire it up. And you continue to educate them on facts repeatedly. Eventually, the ones who need to hear it will hear it or they won't.
Yeah, and I'll just throw this out there before passing it over to Shu really quick. Is like I'm looking at Twitter right now and the headlines on CNN, which we all know are lefty. But again, everyday Americans still pay attention to it, right? So they've got President Trump refused to call out white supremacists for inciting violence at anti-police brutality demonstrations across the country. We've got them saying Tuesday night's debate devolved into chaos and an unrelenting volley of personal attacks as President Trump derailed the night by repeatedly talking over VP Joe Biden. And then President Trump said he would not go along with conceding the election if he believed the results have been quote-unquote manipulated, continuing to press unfounded conspiracy theories about voters casting ballots by mail. So this I think we have to understand. This is what we're going up against. A lot of the conservatives, I won't say a lot, a good portion of conservatives get that the media is biased. They get that all they're getting is propaganda. The left, obviously, they eat this kind of stuff up because it confirms their preconceived biases. The problem that I have is that middle America doesn't understand the problem with the propaganda that's coming out of the mainstream media, which I think is going to make our job that much more difficult. So I just kind of want to preface it with that way, just because I was looking at those headlines. But Shu, practically speaking, what's your game plan for the next month or so?
Basically, it all comes down to educating and listening. We get so involved in our, like, social media is great, but it'd be even greater if it wasn't. What I mean by that is I think social media has within itself dehumanized people and how they treat each other and how they act towards each other. With that has not only come, personal attacks against a bunch of people, but it has also come to the result that we don't listen to each other anymore. We can't sit down with somebody who's from the other island. We can't have a civil discourse or a civil conversation with that person because we have so dehumanized people because we aren't outside, walking to our house. Instead, we got garage doors that automatically come down. We have social media where it's just another comment. It's just words on a screen. We don't see them as actual legitimate people. And when I say listen to other people, I'm not saying you have to give in to your belief systems or into your what you, I guess, stand on or your foundations. We need to discuss. We need to challenge other people's ideas. We need to use the Socratic method, ask questions about why they're standing for what they're standing for, challenge them on their own, viewpoints. Because when they get challenged on these sort of things, they start to see that their own viewpoints begin to fall apart because they have no foundation. And they don't have a foundation because they've eroded away the Constitution. And with the Constitution, they've eroded away Scripture. And when you take away Scripture, you have no morality, no preface of what is right and wrong. And when people begin to see that they have no foundational principles to withhold upon or ability to see what is right and what is wrong, then their whole mentality begins to crumble. People are craving for attention. It's everywhere. We see it online. We see it everywhere. And instead of that attention that they're feeling that they need to fill that gap with, it's rather meaning. It's purpose. And I believe that through I know this is a long-winded answer, but being able to give them that meaning and purpose with, whether that's through work, whether it's finding what is a morality between right and wrong, then people will begin to build that basis and that foundation begins to grow and they begin to realize that I am no longer just an individual, but I am also a part of my community. I'm also able to jump in. I do have a say in what happens in my city. My city does have a say in what happens in the state. And the state does have a say in what happens in this country. We have forgotten that. And instead, we just lob out the quick one-liners that are easy to tear each other apart. We forget that we're all individuals and we're all in the same country together. And I think coming across that bridge and being able to talk to one another and being able to educate each other in these topics more than just the surface, but really getting deep into what it is that they're wanting to discuss or what we're wanting to discuss that's going to help heal this nation and bring us together. And with that, I mean, come on, we're right, obviously. So let's show them.
Okay, JD, it's all culminating with this.
Coffee. Oh wait, what was the question?
So essentially, it comes down to the next 30 days, drink a lot of Freedom First coffee.
Freedom First coffee is the only way to go with a green screen so that it disappears. You start drinking it and then it's gone. The reason I had mentioned earlier that it's not about changing minds is because with changing minds in people can take years sometimes. And she was right. You can't do it with one-liners. What you can do with one-liners, what you can do with, more importantly, 2 and 3 and 5 and 15-liners, and through direct conversations with people, not just Twitter jabs, you have to be able to not change their minds, but make them understand that their minds are aligned with President Trump and the Republicans. One of we can go. Clearly, we all are in agreement that Joe Biden did very well tonight, and President Trump made some unforced errors. But there was one extremely important unforced error that needs to be hammered on. And this is what I'm personally going to do. I'm going to do a podcast after we're done with this one, honing in on one line. Can anyone guess what one line Joe Biden said that I'm going to focus upon? Guesses. Pick a line. Any line. When Joe Biden said that Antifa is an idea, not an organization, that's something that you can use. Ask
Exactly.
people, do you agree with the violence? Do you agree with the anarchy? No, I don't, is what they'll say. And then you ask them, do you believe that Antifa is behind this, or do you think it's like Black Lives Matter or whoever? Well, no, it's definitely Antifa, they'll say. And again, this will be mostly your Democratic friends or your Never Trump friends. So do you think that Antifa needs to be stopped? Absolutely. Then how can you vote for Joe Biden, who does not believe that Antifa even exists? He can't stop something that's just an idea, because he said Antifa is an idea. It's not an organization. There's just these random ideas floating around, burning down buildings in Portland. There's this mental ether, okay? This mental ether that's currently tearing down statues and going to people's homes at 2 a.m. and waking them up and threatening to beat them up. It's just a figment of Joe Biden's imagination when people are getting kicked in the face, or their cars are being stopped and beaten down, or when people are getting shot and dying. You can't vote for a Joe Biden who can't solve a problem when he doesn't acknowledge the problem is even real. We need to be able to not convince people to change their minds on their ideology. We need to get them to understand that whether they're a Republican, Never Trump or not, whether they're an independent, right or left-leaning, or a moderate Democrat, that Joe Biden isn't that guy. That Joe Biden, said the right things during the debate. But is he really going to do the right things as president, or is he going to be controlled by Kamala Harris, who had the only perfect leftist score in 2019 among senators? She was more radical than Bernie Sanders or Elizabeth Warren in 2019, and she's been in the top 7 since she came into office. Or is it going to be run by the cabinet, which the cabinet is going to be put into place by people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez? They've already made these back-end deals with the Justice Democrats, with the radical progressives, with Bernie Sanders and Warren. They've already said, all right, we need your support. We need you to rally the troops. You guys haven't endorsed me yet, and none of them did until very recently. You guys haven't endorsed me yet. What's the deal? Well, we want to make sure that you get this Democratic Socialist in as Secretary of State, and we want to make sure that you get this modern monetary theory proponent in as Secretary of Treasury, and we want to make sure. And so the people that are going to be running the nation aren't that guy that spent a month memorizing talking points. He's not going to be running the country. The people that are going to be running the country are the radicals. So do you believe, maybe Trump isn't your perfect candidate, and maybe the far left, maybe you don't agree with them. Who's closer to you? Do you want law and order? Okay, that's Donald Trump. That's not Kamala Harris. Do you want better economy? Okay, that's Donald Trump. That's not Joe Biden. We don't need to change their minds about what they believe. We need to change their minds about who they believe matches more closely with what they believe. That's the only distinction that I had wanted to make earlier.
Yeah, well, and it makes sense too, because I know even talking to a lot of people that I know that that they can't bring themselves to vote for Trump, or even some of them are plugging their nose and voting for Biden, or as the saying is, settle for Biden, which is a great rallying cry of the Democrat Party. But I think that what's happening is that politics has devolved into this battle of personalities, and it comes down to Trump is mean, so I can't support him. Trump has done bad things, so I can't vote for him. Joe Biden, maybe he said some weird things, or maybe he believes in some weird stuff, or whatever it is, but he seems like a genuinely nice person that is sticking up for the downtrodden and all that kind of stuff. That seems to be in the everyday American's mind. That's what this election is about Uncle Joe versus mean Donald Trump. And I think that if, to a certain degree, and this is a really tough battle, but I think we have to figure out how to, kind of like what JD was saying, of make it about the issues and make people understand that maybe they agree with Trump more than they think they do, is if we can take the personalities away, we can take away the distractions, and we can focus on the issues, and we can find out what are people's actual worldview. Like, do they actually think that these riots are a good thing or a bad thing? Do these people actually believe that that climate change is going to destroy the world after we have a discussion on the science and the data and the facts and all that kind of stuff? Maybe they do, maybe they don't. Do they believe that our taxes should be higher? Do they believe that their paycheck should be lower in order to give more money to the government? If we can get down to a lot of these issues and make it personal, but take away the personalities of a Trump, take away the personality of a Joe Biden, and make it about the issues. Like JD was saying, I think more people would align with what Donald Trump believes than with what the stated platform of Joe Biden is on his website. But they're voting for Biden because he's Uncle Joe and Donald Trump is mean. And I think that for the everyday American who's not involved in politics on the day-to-day basis like we all are, I think that's the danger of this election, is that people are voting not based on the issues. Because if it was about the issues, I think that they would be voting a completely different way. And that's the scary thing about this, is that I think that the American people are being used and they've bought into this reality game show type thing called this election. And we got to figure out how to make it about the issues. Because, again, the majority of America, they still believe in freedom and liberty. They still believe that they should have the right to say what they want. They still believe in personal property rights. They still believe in lower taxes when it's for them. And I think if we can make it about those things, I think that's that's a lot of our winning argument as well. So,
hey, real quick, because I actually have to run. I do apologize.
By the way, we're wrapping up as well. So yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So then, I guess I could wait.
Okay. So why don't we officially wrap up then? So JD, your closing statement.
It's very simple. It comes down to one thing. Are you going to vote for a guy? And I would say this is the truth. I'm fairly certain that I am 100% correct in stating that Joe Biden is the only person on the face of the planet who would rather sniff somebody's hair than smell freedom. The smell of freedom. I love it. That's all. Okay. That's all I had to say.
It's a fair point.
Great point.
My jokes just don't work. They stopped landing. I think it's the age. I mean, ever since I turned 22, man, this whole millennial life has just been rough. It's been rough.
It's a rough life. Okay, so really quick, let's go around the horn. Tell everybody where they can find you and what you've got coming up next on your shows, because I know we're all hosting shows. So Shu, let everybody know what's next for you and where they can find you.
So you guys can all find me on Twitter at StraightWhiteShoe or on the Gatekeepers Online, the Shoe. I'll be coming on with some stuff in regards to free grace, as well as dealing with more of cultural topics and tackling Black Lives Matter, what they are, where they originated, and everything like that. And I really want to get into more of the psychological aspect of where these ideas may have came from and stuff like that. So you can find me on Twitter. And I would love to hear some of your questions, and maybe I'll be talking to Jeff about trying to do my show live so it's a little more interactive and stuff. So
we can make that happen. So, okay, Dustin, your turn.
Okay, so I'm going to go really fast as I can. I know that I've had an absence here with all of this. This is actually one of the first live broadcasts I've done in a while. I had some personal issues come up, and I had to go and then bow down to an employer. So now I'm employed at a job. So it took away a lot of the time that I was doing in building what I'm about to talk about. I have Battlefront Broadcasting. Everybody knows that I'm from that now. It's my own company. You can find us on Facebook at Battlefront Broadcasting, on YouTube at Battlefront Broadcasting, and also our upcoming website, which got slowed down even more now that I'm working a job, bfbroadcasting.com. And you can also follow me on Twitter at bf_frontline. Anyway, we will be giving you guys the same thing that our man JD Rucker does. He's a newsman himself. We're similar in our organization to Freedom First Network as well. We seem to overlap on everything that we do. That's why we all go good together. But I do that. But I'm also with the Gatekeepers Online, as everybody knows. Battlefront Southgate will be kicking into gear. I'm starting to get a better schedule now. I had to learn a new job, so give me a break, guys. I'm getting into that more now, where I'm more stable to return to what I've originally been doing. So expect me back on new episodes of Battlefront Southgate, which honestly is, I think that Josh has a great idea there. I've talked with Jeff in the past about Battlefront Southgate Live. So that'll be pretty cool. I think that it would be great to start delivering a lot more live episodes to people through Gatekeepers. Gatekeepers is a great network, and it's something I'm extremely proud of being a part of. So start expecting a lot more of that. We have a lot more investigations I'm about to be releasing on Battlefront Broadcasting for the flagship program Frontline. So you can catch me there. Stay in gear here on Gatekeepers, because you guys are going to see a ton of content coming out through everybody here. That's all I have to say.
Perfect. And JD, what are you talking about coming up, or any big interviews or anything like that you got coming up?
Yeah. I do. I keep thinking about what they both said. You know, we should do live shows. When is this one going to air, by the way? The one that we're doing now?
Yeah, right now.
Damn it. My comedic timing has just been off. I need to make more Mike Wazowski jokes. Maybe burp online. Okay, so yeah.
You just need some dementia and stuff. I don't know. It seems to work for Joe.
I'm sorry. Who are you?
Oh,
Hey.
nice.
That's where my 14-year-old would say, "Dude, stop with the dad jokes. You're not even good at dad jokes. Why try real jokes if you can't even get the dad jokes right?" Dementia. Okay, so big interviews we've got coming up. So there's one that I'm actually very happy about. It's not even an interview. There's going to be this conference that starts. It's a 20-day conference, oddly enough, that starts in whatever 20 days before the election. I'm not good at math or dad jokes. So 20 days before the election, there's this conference called 20 Days to Save the USA, I believe. And there's going to be like a whole bunch of people, like literally it's going to be streaming like 14 hours a day for 20 days, which comes to like 30 hours or more, right? See, that one was a funny joke, and you guys were supposed to laugh at that because I'd already set it up by saying I was bad at math. All right. That's going to be coming up soon. Of course, everything you can find me on Knock Report, NOQReport.com, FreedomFirstNetwork.com, AmericanConservative.com, at JD Rucker. And tonight's show is going to be about, the debate.
Yep. I don't know if there's anything else to talk about besides the debate after that one. Okay, and then for me as well, Jeff the GK on Twitter. Conversations with Jeff. We're coming out with that pretty consistently. We got Freedom 101. It's almost a new episode almost every day on that one. We're getting some really, really good guests on that show. And then I need to bring back Let's Talk Right Now. I've also been considering bringing back my own podcast here on the Gatekeepers, and I'll put that for members of Plugged In Only, which is a great reminder that if you guys are interested in supporting what we're doing here with the Gatekeepers, definitely get plugged in. If you guys join tonight, it's 30% off, so you can actually get it for the year for $70 instead of $100. You get access to the Destroy Social Justice Conference, which had guys like Pastor Greg Locke, Michael Massey, Ken Peters, Tom Littleton, Mike Spalding, all the GK guys, all that kind of stuff. You'll actually get a free copy of Social Injustice if you sign up for the year. You get 30% off of everything in the GK store. So we're getting you a lot of good resources, and I may actually be launching a new show specifically for plugged in members as well. So that's definitely something to check out. GateKeepersOnline.com/plugged in. The other thing to remind you guys about is, again, tonight only, if you use the code DEBATE at checkout, if you go to gatekeepersonline.com/store, you will get 25% off of anything you want in the GK store tonight only. So go there. You guys can pre-order a book, Church and State, How the Left Used the Church to Conquer America. You can get Social Injustice. You can get Denise McAllister's book, What Men Want to Say to Women But Can't. You got Mike Spalding's book, Upside Down in America. You got Sam Jones' new book, 5 Steps to Kill a Nation. You've got his also ebook, Why I'm Pro-Life. So you got a lot of resources there. Use the code DEBATE at checkout. You get 25% off of anything you want tonight only. So thanks so much for everybody tuning in. And this was a lot of fun. Maybe we'll do it again next debate, if there's a debate. I don't know if there will be. We can make up our own debate. Maybe we'll bring on like mini AOC and have her debate mini Bernie Sanders. I don't know. We can do something fun with that. So anyways, we will see you guys next time.